So Shonen Jump recently gathered together a lot of their top manga creators for a contest that they were holding, where basically new would-be mangaka were submitting entries to see if they could win a prize and ultimately potentially be, the next big manga author with a series. And amongst the judges were a few of the biggest creators that Shonen Jump has had from their magazine. You had the likes of Gege Akutami, aka creator of Jujutsu Kaisen. You had Tite Kubo, creator of Bleach, Kohei Horikoshi, creator of My Hero Academia, and of course Yuki Tabata, creator of Black Clover. And while they brought them there to basically host and be the judges for some of these manga, ultimately they did end up asking them some different questions. For example, things of like, what are some of their favorite fights from each other's series? And honestly, I thought a lot of these answers were very interesting and unique picks. I was very happy with the picks. I was like, wow, these manga authors, not only do they know how to draw their stuff, but they got good taste, which in turn is probably how they know how to draw this stuff, because they got good taste. And of course, before we continue, if you would hit that subscribe button and that bell, I'd greatly appreciate it. And while listing a lot of their fights, for the most part, a lot of people were in agreement of like, yo, these were some really great fights, because the author of Jujutsu Kaisen, Gege Akutami, said that their favorite fight from My Hero Academia was Mirko versus the Nomu, the high-end battle from chapters 260 through 262. That was a fantastic fight. Every fight Mirko has ever been a part of has been like really great fights. Like, Mirko is just a great character, and in general I like the fact that it's not just like a main pick. Like, it's very easy to go and pick like, Deku versus Overhaul, easy pick, main character versus the main villain of an arc. But to pick kind of a quote-unquote side character from My Hero Academia and actually pick a battle that they had against like another side character, because Nomu isn't one of the main villains or anything like that, it's just kind of more so a tool. I thought that was an incredible pick. Shout out to Gege for picking something that is not of the norm. And here's what Akutami had to say as to why they chose that battle from My Hero Academia with Mirko and the Nomu. At this point, Mirko is a character we've only seen once, but Mirko's tenacity and down-to-earth nature, as she uses a simple quirk to counter the Nomu, whose powerful quirks keep popping out one after another, immediately drew readers in. The fierceness of the battle was relatively calm in the Endeavor office arc, and the elements that had been planted beforehand, such as the high-end sadism sprinkled in Endeavor and the named high-ranking heroes, were used to explode Mirko's charm, while at the same time the brutal plus ultra arc drew a strong line for readers about the intensity of the story from this point onwards. I mean, one of the things with My Hero Academia that you could always say is that whenever Nomus were involved in a battle, they would usually be pretty brutal, and then this battle with Mirko, who is a brutal gal that don't take nothing from nobody, it was epic. Then Tite Kubo, creator of Bleach, picked his favorite fight from Jujutsu Kaisen, and it was one of my favorite fights as well. And that was basically all the battles that Maki had in the quote-unquote Zenin clan massacre from chapters 148 through 150, which again, top of the line battles. I felt like Kubo just nailed it. And here's what Kubo had to say as to why he decided to go with the Maki battle as his favorite fight from Jujutsu Kaisen. While making every effort to avoid explanations of complex magic formulas, which is generally considered to be a feature of Jujutsu battles, the story follows Akutami's signature flashbacks that alternate between fact and fiction, followed by a succession of magic formulas that are easy to understand and look good on screen. A series of battles full of gore and scenes that make you envious of the loosening of the jumps and mountains of corpses. The flow leading up to the fight with Naoya is exhilarating and perfect. This is what it means to be in the flow of a writer's strokes. And I'm gonna just say flat out that he is very accurate, and maybe that's also one of the reasons why that's one of my favorite battles of the Jujutsu Kaisen manga, is the fact that this battle really wasn't over complex. There wasn't much crazy amounts of detail. It was just a very intimate, very emotionally charged fight, and ultimately it was this one woman that was trying to battle through an entire clan and ultimately overcome it. Like, I felt like there was a mixed bag of different elements I've seen in Shonen all wrapped into one, because yes, you could argue that it was like Itachi's, Uchiha massacre type of battle, but then also if you add in all of the adversity that Maki was facing, you might feel a little bit of that Naruto feel of the underdog trying to overcome it all. And the simplicity of it kind of takes you out of the element of Jujutsu Kaisen and kind of gives you more of that classic shonen battle where it's just like, simple, but at the same time very effective. So again, props to Kubo's pick. Then Horikoshi came through and surprised me even more, because Horikoshi picked a battle from Black Clover that is legitimately my favorite fight in all of Black Clover, which was Magna versus Dante, chapters 291 through 293. I can't stress how much I love that battle, how much it really reminded me of Kurapika versus versus Uvugen, all the way back in some of the earlier stuffs of Hunter x Hunter, which Hunter x Hunter you already know, very well written story, and in general that's one of my favorite fights in Black Clover that I'm very excited for the day that Black Clover returns for the anime. I want to see that animated, and they need to do that justice because it was a great fight and Horikoshi's pick was awesome. And here's why Horikoshi decided to go with that battle from Black Clover, which again is one of my favorites, the Magna versus Dante fight. As the story reaches its climax and the scale of the battles grows, this is a very bitter fight that ends with a fist fight. Maybe that's also one of the reasons why I love that battle. It reminds me of like a knife-edge death match between Yusuke and Chu. It represents the underlining theme of Black Clover, the rise of the common man, while also being a very unexpected piece of manga, which feels really good. And I could go on and on about that battle and why it's so epic and important, but the art, everything about it was just a fantastic fight. And yeah, Horikoshi really picked a good one, and I'm glad it was a low-key one that most wouldn't think to pick because again, that's mine. And then there was the curveball that seemingly has been getting a little bit of hate online for Yuki Tabata's pick, because Yuki Tabata had to pick a fight from Bleach as one of his favorites, and the fight that he picked, honestly, I thought it was a pretty good fight, but seemingly some fans are not happy with his pick and are kind of, you know, criticizing him because essentially Tabata's pick from Bleach was Renji versus Byakuya from chapters 140 through 144. And honestly, I am really shocked that anybody would criticize that battle because that battle takes place in what people argue is a classic Shonen Jump arc of history, and that's from the Soul Society arc. Like Renji versus Byakuya was a very different type of battle as well. It was a more intimate, more connected. In general, you knew that Renji was the underdog, but he went for it anyways. And honestly, it's a great fight, but the fact that Tabata picked it, it just shows that he was going with what he genuinely wanted to go with. It would have been easy to say, yeah, Final Getsuga Tensho Ichigo versus Aizen, because that is an incredible fight, and it definitely is, but he picked a really awesome battle. And honestly, his reasoning behind it as well wasn't all that bad. But let's read this article right here that kind of breaks down exactly what happened here with Yuki Tabata and his pick and his reasoning behind it. Black Clover creator loves Bleach's most one-sided fight. Off the rip, seeing that title, it makes me think, is that why people are hating on it? Because it was a one-sided battle? Black Clover is gearing up to return later this month for the next entry in its final arc, and the creator behind it all is getting ready for it by sharing their love for Bleach's most one-sided fight between Renji and Byakuya. It's been a wild time for Shueisha as the publisher is going through a massive period of transition for Weekly Shonen Jump magazine. Some of the biggest series in the magazine have come to an end this year, and now Shueisha is looking ahead to who could potentially lead the next generation of hits to come in the next few years. In an effort to try and find that new series, Shueisha has gathered some of Jump's biggest creators together to judge the special Jump Next Generation Battle Manga Award. Black Clover series creator Yuki Tabata and Bleach creator Tite Kubo are two that are a part of this panel, and to celebrate, were asked about their favorite fights from each other's series. For Tabata's part, Black Clover's creator was asked about his favorite fight in Bleach and pointed to the fight between Renji and Byakuya because it's full of quote-unquote overwhelming tension, speed, and presence. When asked about his favorite fight in Bleach, Tabata revealed that it was the fight between Renji and Byakuya during the Soul Society arc. Taking place between chapters 140 and 144 of Tite Kubo's original Bleach manga, this fight is fairly one-sided. Renji has unlocked his Bankai, but it's still clearly not enough to bridge the gap in power between he and Byakuya. It was at a pivotal moment in the series where fans were starting to see Renji in a whole new way, and this shutdown was particularly brutal during an arc filled with tons of upsets, and it's what appealed to Tabata as well. The Bankai battle is full of overwhelming tension, speed, and presence, but it doesn't end there, as Renji rises up in sync with Ichigo amid overwhelming despair. Tabata began, every move and line from both Renji and Byakuya is so cool that you'll fall in love with them both. It's a battle that pierced my soul during my time as a part-time worker before moving to Tokyo and has never left me. So like many fans at the time, this fight was hitting perfectly for Tabata at just the right time. And yeah, I really don't understand how fans could have any problem with this. He breaks down his reasoning fairly well. It was memorable to him. Probably you could throw the argument that there's a little bit of nostalgia there, but you could throw that same argument with Kohei Horikoshi's pick of Magna versus Dante. I mean, that's my favorite fight of Black Clover, but some might say, hey, that's a side battle and it wasn't one of the more important or memorable ones, but it was memorable to me, and that battle was very memorable to Tabata, and I think that people need to stop really just being overly critical about everything. He picked a battle that was special and meaningful to him. How does that in any way, shape, or form affect your experience and what you would choose? And by no means am I trying to be the moral police, but I'm just saying, bro, come on. Lay off the Tabata, okay? Not too much on Tabata, I'm just saying. Girl, can you tell me how really